Hi guys, welcome to my video, and in this video I'm going to briefly showcase what I've added to this project. And yep, I got a new animated traffic lights. It's for visual only, but I thought it would be better than having it static, so if I speed up time, you're gonna see the animation a bit better. It's all material and blueprint based. And I also introduced some new textures for the buildings. So now I've got about 3 or 4 variations for the building textures, and they're all tileable. So these buildings here are actually quite low poly. For example, this building has got only about 300 triangles. So yeah, given the size of this building, it's actually quite good. And another thing I'm testing here is underground structures like this garage. I'm just testing out how the lighting works in this type of interior environment, and I'm not quite sure where this light is coming from, but yeah. Anyways, that's one thing I'm testing out. And I got different textures for the tiles. I got textures for the stairs. Different tiles for different areas. I spent quite a lot of time making textures. They're mostly done in Substance Designer, and some of them, this grass for example, is photogrammetry, so I use my mobile phone to make that texture. But apart from that, mostly is procedural textures done in Substance Designer. I also remapped the rows as well. This is now a Substance graph based textures. These road markings as well, they're now a bit more optimized. I reduced the texture size and improved how I pack those individual decals. So yeah, it's much more optimized now. And not to mention, the road texture itself is less tiling because it has got less color variation on its own. So the color variation is done with grunge textures instead. So the base color is basically doing this ambient occlusion, and that's it. So that's pretty much it for the city center. There's not much going on. I just added a few buildings, and I'm about to add a lot more. And apart from that, I got the landscape modeled. So the landscape is a static mesh. It blends perfectly with the roads, so there's no visible seams or artifacts, hopefully. Yeah, that's the landscape. And in terms of materials, I'm using vertex painting for different layers of textures. And some of the textures, for example the rock texture here, is using autocliff, which is implemented with vertex normal and pixel normal, which is the same thing used for word align texture. And if we move to the coastal area, I have also added this ocean shader, which now is deformed using height maps. It's still fairly low poly, so it's pretty cheap in terms of performance, but I think it looks quite alright as a background prop in an object. So basically the base detail, for example this small waves, are done with 3 different normal textures, and they are blended using linear interpolate, of course, and they are offsetted to different directions, so it looks like they're moving. And these formy colors are done by subtracting certain channels of that normal maps, which is quite simple. So these base details are projected using absolute world position, and these big waves are done with the UVs. So texture coordinates is offsetted vertically, so it looks like it's moving towards the island, and I think it looks quite alright. Still has to be polished a bit, but overall I'm quite happy with it. And the same map is used for color variation as well, so as you get closer to the land it gets lighter, as you can see, and it kind of makes the water look translucent, which in fact it's not translucent at all, but yeah, I guess it's a nice way of faking stuff. And yeah, I got a airport runway which uses a bunch of tileable textures and decals. So instead of using decal actors in Unreal, I used mesh decals. So these are static mesh actors with decal materials, so it works the same way as Unreal's decal actor, which you can find here. Decal. My keyboard is broken. Anyways, yeah, it works the same, but it's much lighter because it's just one static mesh actor rather than having hundreds of decal actors. And yeah, another huge structure I added, this suspension bridge, which uses different modular parts, and again it uses the same texture throughout the entire model. So as you can see, these details are just one texture trim sheets doing the job. So it's using opacity masks to mask out these transparent areas, and these small details like these fibers on the wire are just trim sheets, just a small part of the texture. And yeah, I think it turned out quite alright. It was quite hard to get this curvature while keeping everything on surface, but yeah, it turned out quite alright. And there is another airport runway. This is gonna be more of a military airport, but use the same technique and modules as the first one, so it looks pretty much the same but with different layouts. So the car park is done with decals as well, is now a bit more optimized. And yep, that's about it for the airport. I'm gonna be adding different buildings for the city center, and I'm going to be modeling some unique buildings for the places like airports, and that's where procedural generation comes in to kind of populate the area. Another important thing I've added is that I've optimized night scene a little bit, so if I just skip time a little bit, now you're able to see the light effects even though you're really far away. So if I just take a closer look, when I'm closer to the spotlight will turn on because it has got a max draw distance, and when I get farther away it will turn off and the fake light decal kicks in. So the transition here is not perfect. I probably have to readjust the blending distance, but even when you're far away, I still manage to keep those visual effects with relatively low cost and performance. So I'm not quite sure how other games have done it, but this is the best I can do for now, and I'm quite happy with the results. So that is pretty much it. I've modeled the landscape. I can see the entire island now. So I got the base shape for the whole environment. I got the ocean. I got some massive structures like the bridge and the airport and the roads. So basically all the interactive elements, such as the road where you can drive on, the airport where you can land, is pretty much finished. Just have to work on the surrounding structures like the buildings, and mostly buildings and probably trees as well. And yeah, so that is pretty much it for this video, and please let me know if you got any better ideas for this project, and please subscribe if you like to see some updates. So thank you for watching, and see you later.